are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast, episode number 79. I am your host, Brian Miller, and I'm so glad you've decided to join me to talk about our favorite thing in the world, yet again, Star Wars. And guys, this will be a day long remembered. I've got a guest co-host with me this week. Yusuf is on vacation. JG and Steven and Nick were all unavailable, but we do have a special treat for you guys from, again, across the pond. A different part of across the pond, Mr. Richard J. If you guys have been watching the show for any amount of time, I'm sure you've heard his name. If you guys have seen the show before, long in the past, I'm sure you've seen Jay before. But here he is joining me. Thanks for joining me. I know it's late where you're at, buddy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, all good this way. You?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to talk some Star Wars. Like I said, before we got going, it probably won't be a very long episode tonight. Got a couple things to talk about. And then we have one mailbag question. So let's just hop right into it and let's just get this first part over with. I know everybody and their mother is talking about the Acolyte right now with the news that dropped with it. I don't really want to jump on that bandwagon of bashing it or, taking a side either way, but we got to talk about it. So for those of you that don't know, and I don't know who wouldn't know at this point, the Acolyte is not being renewed for season 2. I don't think it's a shock to anybody. I think it sucks for some people, but I don't think it's a shock to anybody. Jay, you heard this news. First off, we haven't had you on the show in quite a while. We haven't even got your thoughts on the show as it was. What were your opinions on the show itself? And then kind of what were your thoughts on season 2 not happening?
I'm not surprised there's no season 2. I do think the show had a lot of potential. In some areas, it had a bit of a rocky start, but then so did Clone Wars, and look what Clone Wars ended up like. Amazing. It had a bit of a rocky start. So I do think that Lucasfilm, Disney, whoever makes the final decision should have stuck with it. Maybe drop the budget down a little bit. I think it could have had some real good potential.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We were talking in the chat the day we found out that this happened, because I know, and I was hoping JG was going to hop on tonight because he loved the Acolyte. He thought he just thought it was amazing. And I was kind of hoping to have him on as like an opposite end of the spectrum, you know what I mean? To kind of balance everything out. But I'm going to bring up the same point that I did in the chat. A lot of people talking about how, the show didn't hook them after season 1. Nobody, the viewership fell off, which that's the statistically proven. I mean, that's a fact that the viewership fell off. A show shouldn't need 2 seasons. Guys, I've seen people talk about, well, if we'd have given it a second season, it would have really started to become something. Well, you shouldn't have to do that. Mandalorian took off after 1 season. It didn't have a second season. It didn't rely on a second season to make the first season great. That first season is awesome. And it took off. And so I don't subscribe to the fact that you have to have a season 2 to make season 1 good. You wouldn't have that mentality with a film. You wouldn't make a movie and then it bomb at the box office and be like, it's okay, the second one's going to make it better. You're not going to get a second one. As much as we love Star Wars, from their end, it's a business, and that's what it is. What makes money and what sells is what they're going to keep doing. So statistically, everybody fell off after episode 3, I think, is when everybody started to really drop off.
I'm not sure exactly when. I know the numbers have dropped off. I don't know with the remaining figure. Okay, is that still is it still quite a big number for their streaming? Because even though the numbers had dropped off, it's still pulling in numbers.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars. It's still going to pull in those numbers. Might not pull in Star Wars numbers, but it was still pulling in a crowd. And you're right. It doesn't need a season 2 to make season 1 better. There may very well be lessons that they can learn, maybe story treatments that can retroactively build on something in the first season.
Yeah.
it shouldn't. Yes, you're right. It shouldn't rely on it, but it potentially could have happened, but it doesn't really matter now. But
No,
I
really
I,
doesn't.
I do think some of the language that's being used online is openly asking for fights. You look at Boba Fett, for example, right? That didn't get renewed, at least so far, for a second season. But no one said, oh, Boba Fett's been cancelled. Nobody said that the Kenobi show has been cancelled. It's just, well, no, it was just a once and done story. Some people would like a bit extra, but it's predominantly a once and done story. But everyone's jumping on, oh, the Acolyte's been cancelled. And I go, oh, just come up one day of nice conversation, please.
And it sucks because there's no, like we were talking beforehand, before we started recording, there's no gray area with Acolyte. You're not allowed to be in the gray area. You're either supposed to love the show completely or hate it completely. And if you love it completely, then everybody who hated it jumps on your case, and then vice versa. And you're not allowed to, have this, well, there were things that in it that didn't work, that weren't good, but there were things that were good. You're not allowed to say that. Like, you have to either pick a side. Like, I mean, it's wild seeing it online, because most of the people, let's say 80%, maybe, I'll say 70%. 70% of the people that watch the show on Disney Plus are not huge Star Wars fans like you and I are. They're just sitting around with their family on, watching Disney Plus and watching, see what the new Star Wars show is. The only people that were really having an issue with this are the mega fans who are getting online and expressing, their distaste for it being canceled and blaming the review bombing and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, I know there were review bombers. There were some on there. They were bombing the wrong Acolyte movie. So, that was happening.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that the viewership completely fell off, and that nobody really, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody. A lot of the audience that was watching it at home just lost interest in the show and just didn't really care whether, they finished it or not. Like you said before we started recording, it's Star Wars. We're going to watch it whether we like it or not. You haven't seen anything yet that made you go, well, I'm done, I'm out, and just not watch it anymore. I haven't reached that point yet. There's been books that I've read where I was like, oh God, I don't want to read 2 more of these. But I'm a little bummed that we didn't get a season 2, because it could have really expanded on a lot of the stuff that was introduced in season 1. Now that Plagueis cameo is completely wasted. It was for nothing. And when one of the issues I have with it is I feel like this season was made with them assuming they were going to get a season 2, as I think what the issue was. The season itself wasn't like a neat packaged, cut and dry, this is one season that can kind of stand on its own. It was relying on the fact that it was going to get a season 2. That's why we got a 7-second cameo of Darth Plagueis that was never touched on again, and so I wouldn't have minded seeing another season, just maybe at least one more, just to kind of see where they were going to go with it. And then maybe we could have decided. But I also understand it from Disney's point of view, their business point of view, and if it's not selling, and this show had a massive budget. It was a ridiculous budget for every episode. Why would they keep pouring those millions into a show that nobody's going to watch?
Yeah. I don't know how I can't wrap my head around the budget being so high. It's streaming. Surely you could make the same similar quality, but a lot lower. I don't know where the marketing, how the finances are split up, but it's it's a shame. You think, how many episodes was it? 8 episodes in total?
Yeah, 8.
And there was about 6 of them just dedicated to Saul and figuring out what actually happened. So I know a lot of people complained. A lot of people sort of like, ugh, about that. There was some decision making within it, which I thought was a bit like, but I otherwise I enjoyed it, and I liked seeing the little things like bleeding the lightsaber, like physically holding the crystal in her hand, touching her skin at least. We were talking to you earlier about Indara using the Darth Bane's thought bomb and just wiped out the Coven completely.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it that way.
The hell is there? I really enjoyed some of the elements of it, and I thought some of it was really, really fun. it's a shame, but we'll see what happens.
I like the way Nick Albers said it. All the ingredients were there for something great, and then the cake just didn't rise, I guess, is the metaphor. So
I know what you mean, yeah.
But Acolyte's not getting another season, and I'll tell you, I'm going to make a prediction right now too. Skeleton Crew's not going to get another season either. I don't know if they're looking at another season for Skeleton Crew, but at this point, if this is what happened with Acolyte, I don't see this happening. I see the same thing happening with Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, I can't see that. I mean, I in all fairness, I can see why they stuck it straight in the teaser. I know they said we're going for the Spielberg Amblin thing. Fine, cool. But even so, they told us still seeing the suburb shocked a lot of people. And I remember the discourse that happened when somebody found bricks. I ain't going to mention names, right? I don't need that heat. But bricks in Star Wars. And discourse, 6 months of complaining over bricks. I saw
or Phillips head screws. Remember when everybody got mad about Rey's staff having a Phillips head screw in it?
And the start of that Skeleton Crew teaser looks like the start of Fallout 4. They're in Sanctuary Hills. What's going on? Is a Voltec rep's going to pop up? No. Hey, Voltec calling.
Looks like Super Earth from Helldivers is what it looked like.
Super Earth from Helldivers, yeah.
Exactly what it looked like.
But, we'll give it a, but I tell you what I loved so much about that. For years now, I've just been having a bit of fun with saying things like Captain EO should be in Star Wars. Just chuck him in the background in the cantina or something. Put him on the hollow screen or something. Just something a bit of fun. And everybody running away. All of a sudden, I log in one morning onto Twitter and just see Captain EO, Michael Jackson, Star Wars, Skeleton Crew. I'm like, what is going on my trending feed? I'm like, oh yeah, Michael Jackson's in Star Wars. I'm like, no, he ain't. Like now, I got the Michael Jackson fans on one side, right, which I'm in the community with. I got the Star Wars fans on the other side, and I'm going, right. I should love this, but I'm no. This who there? No,
no, both ways.
They're like, no, this is not this. No, this is not Arnold Holland. No, this is not this. No, this. No, this. And it's like, yeah, but it must be canon. And he was like, well, look, the little boy in the trailer with the black curly hair, that's young Captain EO. No, It's not. No, it's not. Don't get me wrong, mind if it is. Absolutely, I'll be on it. I'll be pulling the drinks for that. But like, no, it's not Captain EO. Funny, it did make me laugh. That was, it was the most fun I've had on Star Wars Twitter for a good couple of years. That was seeing literally, because like my whole conversation had doubled in size. I'd gone from talking to just the Star Wars fans, and now I had the Star Wars fans, and I had about 65 million Michael Jackson fans come blowing through my door. Like, what's going on? Nope. So funny.
Well, sound off below, guys. Keep it civil. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are on Acolyte getting canceled. Actually, I shouldn't even really call it canceled. I think that's the wrong word to use. It just wasn't renewed for a season 2, I think is the better phrase. Yeah. So let us know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Moving on to some happier news, I think. Next week, we are finally seeing the release of Star Wars Outlaws. This is a game that I've, been looking forward to, been trying to keep my expectations tempered a little bit because of some of the news that we've got. We can talk about here in a minute. Jay, are you picking Outlaws up?
Yeah, I am a big fan of some of the Ubisoft games, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Breakpoint, and it's all like the same team of people that worked on Division as well. So it's kind of really up my street. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just a shame in the UK. Monday is a bank holiday, so we all get Monday off. It's just a shame it doesn't come out tonight because I could have had a nice 3-day run on that.
Right. I love. So first off, my favorite video game franchise of all time is Assassin's Creed. I'm an Assassin's Creed freak. I know there's some games in there, some entries that were not good. I know that, but I'm so faithful to that franchise. I can't help it. And so when I saw Ubisoft was doing Star Wars, and then they were using the same kind of engine as The Division, because I love Tom Clancy's The Division. I loved both of them so much. I like the first one better than the second one, but I loved both of them. And so I'm looking forward to this game. The thing that gives me a little bit of pause on it, though, is I don't know if it was a gameplay trailer or if it was, I don't remember what it was that came out recently, but it basically said, here are the planets you can go to. And there's only 4 planets in this game that you can go to. and this is supposed to be the first open world Star Wars game. The Lego Skywalker Saga was more open world than this was. I mean, there was 20 planets you could go to in the Lego Skywalker Saga. So I think it's funny they're calling this the first open world game. But it's going to be cool to go see Akiva, because Akiva, you know Akiva.
Yeah, you can't really compare Lego Star Wars to this. I mean, I know people say, oh, No Man's Sky can do it. Yeah, but No Man's Sky is empty. Every planet's empty, you know. So there's only so much we can do, you know, in terms. Yeah, you could do it. You could download, or you could buy your physical disc, right? Which will be what, like 30, 40 gigabytes. Then you've got to download 16 terabytes of data. What's that? That's all the planets and all. So it's going to be something with the DLC packages, another planet, another mission somewhere. So
yeah, it's going to be a wild download. Actually, I was going to look up real quick and see how big the download is, because I think wasn't Yusuf downloading it a while ago? Didn't he?
Might have had it pre-installed. Yeah, usually you'll pre-install it. So on release, you just got to download like a 10 megabyte patch and just play it. Just unlock the main menu. Yeah, they usually about, I don't know.
So 50. According to Xbox Store, it's just shy of 62 gigabytes.
Yeah,
but only so much. Day one, there's gonna be a patch for it. Day one, it's Ubisoft.
Oh yeah, there always is. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this game. I want to get into the shoes of Kay Vess. I like that little axolotl thing she's got. Nyx. I think that's kind of cool. For once, we're not getting a droid as your companion. You know, it's nice to get a living creature, but I'm looking forward to it because it looks like it's got some elements of almost like a GTA feel to it when you're wanted, you know, and whatnot. And I like the idea of being able to go from the planets into space, hyperspace, back into regular space, back down to a planet seamlessly. That's kind of cool. But I don't know a whole lot about the story of this game. I know it takes place between Empire and Jedi. We've got the whole War of the Bounty Hunters comic thing running at the exact same time with all of these crime syndicates that you're supposedly working for. So I'm kind of hoping there's some mention of some stuff going on in there with that. And there's only a year? Was there like a year between Jedi and Empire?
Yeah, it wasn't long, was it?
No.
I got the impression I got is that this game, the story for this game, is what the Han Solo second movie should have been. And they've just said, right, okay, let's just take this, put it over here instead, bring a new character and make somebody new.
Yeah,
because because I know they cancelled the rumors were about the Lando show, which was going to happen as well as the Solo thing, which is all going to coincide with this big mission, which is what I've read, which I can't really verify, so take it with a pinch of salt, which was supposed to be the story of this game. But obviously, because they never happened, they just took the story, changed the protagonist, moved it up, and set it between the 5 and 6.
Yeah. So I've seen a lot of gameplay on it, and actually I saw some the other day. Actually, was it today or yesterday? I saw it on TikTok, and there's climbing in it the same way Cal Kestis has his climbing in it. So I was, we'll see how it goes. I want it to feel like its own thing, its own, set of physics and its own controls, like its own, I don't want it to feel like a Jedi game, a Jedi Fallen Order game without a Jedi. You know what I mean? I want it to be its own thing. So I'm looking forward to it though.
I just want a poncho to stick on that little bastard. Give him a poncho and a Rebel Commando helmet. Pop that on little Nyx and then say, "Oi, you out there now, go on. Go get that Stormtrooper's blaster. Go on, go get that blaster." And then a little poncho on his little Rebel Commando helmet. Go on, get him.
I did see too, they said that this wasn't going to be like Jedi Fallen Order at all, where you're just taking on hordes of enemies at a time. It's going to be,
it's got to be different.
And from what I saw, like, any of the random stormtroopers in this game could drop you. Like any single random one could be the one to do it. And I, I saw somebody upset too online about, well, you can get from one side of the planet to the other in 5 minutes. Yeah, on a speeder that's hauling ass. I mean, it's if you're not doing anything in between, and I mean, you could think of how big. What was the name of the planet from Jedi Fallen Order where your main base was, like where the bar was, the saloon? what was the name of the planet? I can't remember what it was.
Fallen Order, or you mean what's
Survivor?
Survivor?
Survivor, I mean, yeah, in Survivor.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the
It
planet.
was a massive.
Give me the K.
It might have. I don't remember, but it was a massive planet,
Mm.
and if you had to walk from one end to the other, it was taking you forever to get from one side of that. If you had a mission on the far end and then you had to get, if it wasn't for the fast travel, you'd been walking for, it might as well have been a Lord of the Rings game. You'd have just been walking the whole time back to your ship.
Yeah.
But if you were on one of those speeders, it would no time at all. And those are still massive planets. So I'm hoping that these 4 planets are big enough in the game that they give you enough to explore and enough to do to where it doesn't feel very small scale. I want something larger scale. You know what I mean? So we'll see. The game comes out on the 30th, next Friday. I think it's available for pre-download now, I think is what Yusuf was doing.
I think that's what Yusuf was doing. Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. I'll probably pick it up. I get paid that Friday. So I'll probably just go pick it up as soon as I get off work and come home. And I guess that's what I'll be doing next weekend. We'll see. So let us know what you guys think. Star Wars Outlaws. What do you guys think? How is it looking to you? You know, I mean, I've seen some footage of, I saw some people that were worried that, you know, it looked like the graphics weren't that great. I don't care about graphics. I just want a good story. Just give me a good story in the game. It doesn't have to look like real life. You know what I mean? Real footage or anything. But yeah, give us something good. So let's get on with our mailbag question for the week. We only have the one question, but I do want Jay's take on this. And we already kind of talked about it a little bit before we started recording. It's one question. I think it's a pretty good question. I think it could spark some good conversation. We'll see. Shane Underwood has sent in and he said, "Hey there, Star Wars Canon podcast crew. Just found your show and love it. Thanks for being a pretty down-to-earth podcast concerning topics that everyone else seems to be up in arms about. I listened to your show last week and loved the question you answered about the theory of Anakin affecting Padme's emotions through the Force. It got me thinking about another theory I've read about and would like your take on it. The theory suggests that Qui-Gon Jinn had a profound understanding of the Force and foresaw Anakin's role as the Chosen One, as well as his dark future. Far from being just a maverick Jedi, Qui-Gon's unconventional methods and belief in Anakin were deliberate moves to guide events toward the rise of Darth Vader and fulfill the prophecy. According to this theory, Qui-Gon was not merely reacting to events, but strategically shaping the galaxy's destiny, adding complexity to his character and the prequel trilogy's narrative. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on this theory. Love the show, and may the Force be with you." Thanks for the question, Shane. I don't know if Qui-Gon needed any more complexity in his character, to be completely honest. Qui-Gon was a pretty solid character as was, but Jay, what do you think about this? I mean, is it possible that Qui-Gon maybe had a better understanding of the prophecy than anybody else did?
A better understanding of the prophecy? I don't know if he necessarily had a better understanding of the prophecy, but I do think that because the way that the Jedi had all sort of fallen and become sort of corrupt and sort of arrogant, that they never took heed of anything, where he was maybe one of the last to actually take heed. If he had Jedi with him to say, "Oh yeah, let's look at this prophecy," maybe more could have been established. But he's certainly a maverick. Yeah, a maverick in the sense of all the other Jedi had turned against what the Jedi should be. He was a maverick in the sense that he just didn't. He's what they should have always been. I'm not sure about the foreseeing of Darth Vader. I kind of think, oh, but if that's, I don't know, that last line kind of threw me. But I mean, it's a fun little thing to think about. I just try to imagine. Okay, let's just play the role. Qui-Gon knows that Anakin's going to become Vader.
Okay.
Does he know how? Is he going to speak to his own master about it? Is him and Dooku then just going to turn tail and run? Is he then going to try and convince Obi-Wan to come with him? But even then, to start off a new order, that's still going to fall flat on its face. And when he finds out that the new order is going to be run by a Sith Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
There's a lot of variables there, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it was what, 12 or 13 years after he got brought to the Jedi that all this happened, that all of it went down. and it's not like Qui-Gon could see the future and see what was going to happen, because Yoda's even, always in motion. The future is, you can't, just because you see something happening in the future does not mean that that's exactly what is going to happen in the future. It's one of many possibilities, and I just got done reading not too long ago, The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, which had a lot of Qui-Gon in it. And basically the story of this book is, it's a year before the Phantom Menace. Excuse me. And he challenges the Jedi Council to get out of the council chambers and to actually go back out and be Jedi again, because they've gotten so wrapped up
Don't touch grass, Yoda.
Yeah, basically that's basically what he tells them. He challenges them to do this. And so they come up with their own mission that they're going to go do. The entire Jedi Council leaves Coruscant and goes to do this mission. And Qui-Gon wasn't wrong. And several of the Jedi Council members agreed with him. Yeah, we do need to get back out and, like you said, touch grass again. We need to get back out there and remind ourselves what it is to be a Jedi. And some of them were like, I think Ki-Adi-Mundi was one. It's like, we don't need to do this. Why are we doing this? This isn't something we need to do. And so
just imagine, right? They're all out there now touching grass, and Dex just leans out of the window of his diner. Hey, get off my grass! Yoda's just there, like hopping along, chasing.
Green it is.
No.
But no, it was something. It played to Qui-Gon's strengths as a character, because it was dead on exactly something Qui-Gon would do to the Jedi Council. We know from Master and Apprentice, he was invited to be a member of the Jedi Council and was like, no, I'm not interested, and so I think things would have been a lot different had Qui-Gon survived the fight with Maul and Obi-Wan, and had he been the one to train Anakin. I think it would have been a lot different, but I don't know. I'm not ready to say that Qui-Gon had any kind of foresight into what was going to happen to Anakin. I think he had blind faith in Anakin and in the prophecy that it was going to happen. He just didn't know to what extent that prophecy was going to go, the lengths it was going to go through to get fulfilled. And so, and I will go back to what I said a minute ago. I think things would have been a lot different had Qui-Gon survived and had been to train Anakin. The Jedi were just mean to Anakin. They were just, Mace was a dick to Anakin every chance he had. And I
enough of this Mace Windu slander.
But do what?
I said enough of this Mace Windu slander. Hashtag justice for Mace.
No, when he flat out in episode 3 was like, I don't trust him. Yeah. Then Yoda makes the comment, a prophecy misread maybe, and he's just like, yeah, no kidding. Like, yes, that looked like he has zero faith in Anakin, and he even tells Anakin as much. If what you say is true, then my faith in you will have been restored. And that right there, he had no faith in Anakin. And look at everything that Mace and Anakin went through during the Clone Wars. There was even an episode where they were stranded on a ship together, waiting on R2 to go find somebody to come back and get him. Remember when they were injured? They were in like the bridge of one of the cruisers or whatever. And Mace didn't learn from that. He didn't learn any of that.
Yeah, but Anakin's a bitchy little incel though as well, isn't he? But I was watching this video, this fan video. It got a remaster recently. HFP. That's the YouTube channel, right? And he's got the Chosen One. He did it years ago for Anakin. Redid it. Put loads of new footage in there. Animation footage. Even fan footage, and it gets to that bit and he says, I don't trust him. And then it's Mace saying, I don't trust him like 4 or 5 times in different versions of animation, live action. I'm like, oh, geez, they're really putting the knife into Mace on this one.
He was a straight dick to Anakin. He really was. It was, but had Qui-Gon survived, I feel like he would have taken Anakin away. I think they would have become what the High Republic is now calling way seekers. They would have left the Order, Basically, like what Yaddle was doing with what was her name? There's a girl you haven't read that part of High Republic yet. In Phase 2, there was a girl, I can't think of her name now off the top of my head, but she was very bizarre and very weird. And Yaddle had taken the responsibility of training her, but she couldn't be around other people because she was so strange and weird and whatnot. So she took her out into the galaxy to train her. I feel like that's kind of the route Qui-Gon would have taken with Anakin, and I think Qui-Gon would have allowed Anakin to go and see Shmi once in a while instead of cut all ties.
Let's just assume that Qui-Gon didn't die. Based on what we know in terms of where the story was up to that point, I could see two places that they would go. Number one, they would either train on Tatooine. Again, just because of the connection to his mother. Mm-hmm. The other one probably would have gone to Mortis, I would have thought. That would have been a great place to train. Literally, you could have done it.
Mortis?
Well, he was in his Force Ghost was in on the episode, so I'm sure, but at
the time of episode 1, did he know about it?
Probably not. Who knows? But then there's nothing to say that they wouldn't have found it, because the minute Anakin gets stronger and stronger in the Force, the father is still going to call out to Anakin, and have them there. So who knows? But then at the same time, all right, we know that even with Qui-Gon alive, Dooku started going down with original and noble intentions, started going down the wrong path. Would Qui-Gon be able, because that was the kind of straw that broke the camel's back, was Qui-Gon's death. Would Qui-Gon be able to sort of pull him back and say, look, no, we got this under control as long as you're with us, not with him? I don't know, because Dooku, while annoyed, he seemed to kind of just accept the fact that Qui-Gon had to die.
Yeah. Well, and all the background stuff was still going on anyway. Had Qui-Gon had Qui-Gon survived, if he'd have survived that fight, we already know Sidious was taking Dooku as an apprentice. That happened during episode 1. It was like it was immediately after, or no, it was before Qui-Gon's funeral.
Yeah, their relationship, Dooku and Palpatine's relationship started, sometime before that. But it was Qui-Gon's death, which was like, right, that's it, I'm done, I'm gone, I'm out.
Yep, and
which is why he didn't go to the funeral, which is why he wasn't in the Phantom Menace. He just went straight to see Palpatine, and that's Yaddle. And that's because Yaddle's not in it either. Which it's only when you go back and look, you say, oh yeah, she's not. So they wrote her out by having her follow Dooku and get taken out.
So I mean, the whole I think the whole Clone Wars would have still happened had Qui-Gon survived. I mean, the clone army was already being created on Kamino by the time episode 1 rolled around. And, I think everything would have still played out, but I don't think Anakin would have had a serious role in the Clone Wars at all. I don't think Qui-Gon would have let him participate in something like that had he taken him away to train him or whatever, or on Tatooine. Like if he had taken him to Tatooine, like you said, I think that would have been a huge, that's a huge, that's a fulcrum moment. That's a pivotal moment. It was Qui-Gon dying. And so I
think, let's just say, right, the Clone War starts and Anakin's not involved. I don't think anybody would have been able to stop Anakin getting involved. He may not have got involved from the start, but let's just say, no, he's training away. Doesn't matter where he's training. He can train anywhere he likes. He's training with Qui-Gon. Word reaches them that the Clone Wars has kicked off. It's been fighting now for a couple of years, and Padme is in danger. Now, okay, as far as Anakin's concerned, Padme, he may not have seen her for decades at this point, so he's still got that sort of image of Padme from when he was a child. He still would have just got up and left, just like Luke did in Dagobah.
Oh, and just went after him?
Yeah. Sacrifice Han and Leia. If you want to go what they fight for, then yes. No. Yeah, I think he still would have got involved.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have ever stopped.
Qui-Gon may have too.
Getting involved.
Qui-Gon may have taken a different approach to it. He could have actually went and talked to Duke.
He'd be a side saddle on the end one, and a side saddle.
And Dooku had even made the comment to Obi-Wan, I wish Qui-Gon were alive. I could use his help right now. Would he have gone to Qui-Gon, and would have Qui-Gon have maybe been sympathetic to him because of the direction the galaxy was going, and the Senate and the Jedi and everything? I mean, would Qui-Gon been sympathetic to the CIS?
I think he, in a sense, would have been, because go back to the animated Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Sith. When Qui-Gon dies, Dooku does say to Palpatine, "Look, I could have brought him in. He could have been with us." And also, Qui-Gon saw the same thing that Dooku saw, that the Republic was trashing its own people. The working class people of the planets were getting a raw deal, and the only reason why Dooku just didn't outright murder people is because Qui-Gon was able to just chill him out and say, "Look, no, that's too far. Go on, go run to your old man. I'll sort Dooku out. I'll sort the boy out. You sort the father out."
Yeah. You remember there was a comic series called Star Wars Infinities? Did you ever read these?
Yeah. I read a couple. Yeah.
One moment and change.
That's the flip side. Yeah.
Yeah, like a what if. I think it'd be fun if they ended up doing something like that now with Star Wars. And I mean, you could make it obviously Legends. I mean, obviously it would be Legends. I mean, but there's no reason why, if Marvel can get a what if show that's animated, why can't we get a Star Wars one? And this is what if, like one of the comics was if Luke died on Hoth, if he froze to death and Han found him before he died, but he just didn't survive the night, what would have happened? And that was my favorite one, because it was Han. He heard Luke saying Dagobah, Yoda, Master Yoda, and all this stuff. And when Luke died, he decided to go
Zima soup.
Zima soup. I love it.
Yeah, I think the problem is with Star Wars and the franchise as a whole, while still being overwhelmingly profitable on by and large.
Oh yeah.
It's not found its since Empire Strikes Back came out, it's not found its footing. There's always someone complaining. Always. If either it's the media reviewing it, back in the day, didn't like it. And then it was the fans that didn't like it. And now it's still the fans for 20 solid years that still don't like it. Whereas because it's, we're in a different world now. Even Marvel's starting to suffer from it and hopefully come out the other side, where they were just banging out blockbuster after blockbuster, and nothing of what they were selling was going to ever win any awards, because it was just hangover drivel. Yeah. But it was fun to watch. I don't need Marvel to reinvent the wheel. Just tell a nice story, which I can take my kid to and have a bit of popcorn and enjoy it. The Hulk's getting his face smashed in, fine. A little bit of drama. Everyone dies. Yeah, but we already know that they're coming back in the next movie because Mark Ruffalo spoiled it all on bloody TV.
Yeah.
The only bit of drama in the entire franchise was Aunt May dying. Oh, that and the come on, Spider-Man, you can get up, Spider-Man. But it makes money, hand over fist, billions. Yeah. So you've got the opportunity. Star Wars, even though it's profitable, it's not found a footing where they can just keep pumping out constant gold. Like Marvel had been doing. I say, I know no one's ever going to, have to have the Midas touch and keep pumping gold out. You're going to get a few fluffs, critically and commercially. But the pace in which we're getting things and it's not consistent enough, I don't think, to have a what if universe in Star Wars.
They push the gas too hard, and then they let off too easy. Then they push it again too hard, and it's like you're just getting jerked back and forth in the car like this, and you're like, I don't know what to do, So
I tell you, if you brought a what if series out, you'll have people going online saying, we've killed Star Wars, hashtag kill Star Wars canon is dead, hashtag Legends is reborn. And you're like, here we go again. We're just going to have, you can't have nothing nice now. Disney and Lucasfilm said, okay, yeah, do you know what? You've asked for that. We gave you the Clone Wars back because you asked for it. Hashtag Clone Wars saved. Now I have some of this as well because thanks very much. And it's just going to be spat back in their face. So,
Yeah, no, I keep seeing online the only people who hate Star Wars more than Star Wars fans are other Star Wars fans. And so, what was the one I put in the chat the other day? It was the Star Wars fans and the Star Wars fans beating the crap out of the Star Wars fans, and behind the wall there were two other Star Wars fans sweating, terrified because
that's it. Yeah,
that's the way it is, man. It's the way it is. It's always the loud minority that causes the most problems for everybody, I think. But yeah, no, to get back to Shane's question, I don't think there's anything to that theory. I don't see Qui-Gon, basically leading the galaxy as a sacrificial lamb. You know what I mean? Just to bring balance to the Force. I don't even think Qui-Gon knew what it meant to bring balance to the Force. Nobody did, I don't think.
Well, yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I mean, it literally just means wiping the slate clean.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, because I know George is, obviously it's not like he wrote this all in one go and then just said, right, here. Things change over time. Balance was originally was like stripping everything back down. The Jedi are gone, the Sith are gone. Bang, you're back down to zero. Can't be too far in either direction. And then it's like, no, the balance is the Jedi are fine, but the Sith is problematic. No, okay. All right, okay. Let's just wipe the slate clean, just kill everybody. Bring the Vong. Get the Vong in. They'll just sort it out. They'll just wipe the slate clean.
Just bring in the Yuuzhan Vong.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's it. You bring in Captain EO, right? Make that canon, right? The Yuuzhan Vong are in that as well. Well, they're not really, but they all look like Yuuzhan Vong. They look more like Borg, to be fair. But when you get your really nasty-looking videotape quality, you can't really tell half the time that it's mechanical. It's so warped looking. They may as well just look like Yuuzhan Vong.
If they wanted to make a good trilogy of Star Wars movies after Episode 9, that's a route that they could take that I think would get a lot of people on board for it, is bring in we've been touching on the whole, there's another galaxy out there that we can explore now. And so why not bring something like that in? I think that would be, if you did the same thing, and I know you're not a huge fan of High Republic from what you've read, but if they did the same thing for a trilogy of movies, some Yuuzhan Vong War, and they did it the same way they did the High Republic, where they got everybody in the same room and everybody sat down and they all agreed on the story and decided this is where we're going with it. This is the beginning, middle, end. You're going to tell this part. You're going to tell this part. You're going to tell this part. And I think they could really make something special and something that, just would blow everybody away. I've read a couple of the novels that have the Yuuzhan Vong in them. And it's been a hot minute since I've read them, so it's kind of vague to me. But you could even take some liberties with the Yuuzhan Vong in canon and make like a canon version of them. What was the deal with them anyway? Were they outside the Force? Were they?
Well, originally they were sort of like, it's been a while since I've read them, but originally this whole deal was they can't sense them in the Force. Are they from outside the galaxy? I'm trying to think. I don't think the planet that they were from was outside the galaxy. I think it might have been at one point, but their planet had was like Sky Starkiller Base. It had a built-in engines, thrusters, and the planet would constantly move. And they're such an abomination, because what they would do is they hated technology. They believed in pain and suffering, because it's only through that you can really be your true self. So, they would do ritual things like, I'll cut off your arm and I'll basically stick some sap on the end of it, and we'll stick a cow's leg in your arm socket and see if it heals. And if it doesn't heal and it doesn't take, right, you're cast out. You're one of the shamed. And if it does take, and you've now got this cow stump for an arm, then they'll promote you. And the thing is, they were brought in because basically, right, you had the whole expanded universe up to that point. George brought out Episode 1, which retconned everything. The entire Thrawn trilogy, Jedi Academy, because there was no Jedi temples, no councils. They was all on one big dreadnought flying around the galaxy. That's why they were so vague and mysterious. No one ever really saw them. And George said, no, we'll have this. So they brought out this big, massive Vong campaign, because the whole deal is they don't like technology. They want to basically blow everything back to square one. So if something in the movie didn't match with what was seen already in a previous book, they could just chalk it up to, oh, the records might have been lost, but we found the records now. The records have just been received shortly after Attack of the Clones came out. No coincidence there, but yeah, this is what happened. This is how the Clone Wars started.
No, I think it'd be fun to touch on something like that. I mean, you could make a canon version of it. But I think bringing something like that in.
Canon version of that? We haven't had a canon version of a Bothan yet. So one of them first.
Oh, you said of a Bothan?
Of a Bothan, yeah. We haven't had a canon Bothan yet. One of them.
We've had Bothans, haven't we?
No. We've had one. If you go online, right, you can look online and there is a picture, right? It's an illustration that's Sabine supposed to have drawn. Sabine Wren is supposed to have drawn this little sort of like stick picture of a Bothan. But yeah, as of yet, we've not seen a canon appearance of a Bothan.
Are you sure? I feel like we've seen one. No, you know what? That would be a cool story to tell too.
We all thought, if you remember, or at least the last time I really saw big debate about it was before it was during the run up to episode 8, because in the Canto Bite scene there was this one fella with a great big horse's head, and everyone thought that's a Bothan, but it turned out it wasn't. You're like, okay, it was just some random stallion, literally, that they just stuck in there.
Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't make a movie called Rogue 2 and just do the Bothans and the whole Death Star 2 thing. You could get the Emperor in on it. I mean, you could tell the story of this like Bothan team. That'd be a lot of fun. But you already know that none of them are going to survive. Well, at least one of them has to survive, right? To get the plans back. She didn't say all the Bothans died. She said many Bothans died.
I have no idea. I have no idea how they got the plans. I'm sure there's I've read so many books now, but I haven't actually read any books for I don't know, since the High Republic started. So I got about 4 or 5 of those books, but yeah, I got an audio book.
A whole movie based off of Geode and his entire species, and we'll even get you a role to play in it. You can talk with the talking rock or with the non-talking rocks.
I'm not. It's just a friggin' pummel stone.
I know.
Go into the shower and scratch your backside with it. Get the flakes off your bum with Geode. I got no time for that. I didn't find that. I know there's some goofy stuff in there.
There's some
but
goofy.
It was a lot of it was goofy because they tried to be serious. But the High Republic is goofy because they're trying to be goofy, and it doesn't work for me. Who said it better? I think I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about, and again, this is just purely a matter of perception and taste, so there's no right or wrong in it. But people were saying, I think it was Jon Favreau. He said that I didn't want to go and approach the Mandalorian like the sequel trilogy. I wasn't paying homage to Star Wars. I was paying homage to what inspired Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think it landed a lot, aesthetically, it landed a lot better than some of the design choices in the movies. Yeah. Something. But again, that's a matter of taste and opinion. So there's no right or wrong if you prefer the look of one or the other.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Shane, in a roundabout way, I hope we answered your question. What do you think? Do you think there's something to that theory? Is it somebody's headcanon at this point? I don't know. I hope not, because I don't think that one. Honestly, Jay, did you watch the episode last week? Did you catch the whole Anakin Padme theory with the emotions and stuff?
No, I must have missed some of that because I play it while I'm working, so I might have just zoned out on it. But I will go back and give it a listen.
We had a mailbag question about a theory that Anakin was subconsciously affecting Padme's emotions by being around her, and that's why Padme fell in love with him so fast, and how she went from being this like Betty badass to a plot device in episode 3, basically. And so I like that theory. There's quite a bit of evidence that kind of points towards it. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I would believe that theory more so than this one with Qui-Gon. I think this one is out there, but I'm glad you sent it in because I'd never heard the theory before. And when I read it, I was like, you know what? We have to talk about this. We gotta, because there's been more and more Qui-Gon stuff. We need more Qui-Gon stuff is what we need, but there's been more and more starting to come out in canon with Master and Apprentice and now with, the Living Force. So I think we need more Qui-Gon. I think he was pivotal. So anything else you want to add, Jay, before we call it a night. I know it's a shorter episode. I know it's late where you're at, but not a whole lot of news this week.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I quite like that Anakin theory. I'm not sure. I know the whole like weak-willed, weak-minded, so it kind of makes Padme a little bit weak. But then we are talking Anakin, so he is the exception to the rule. But I wondered if it would make more sense if it was Palpatine manipulating Padme to fall in love with Anakin. Good. So yeah, Anakin completely like, ooh, this woman's like, she likes me, mother. She likes to get him completely off guard, knowing full well he's just gonna throttle her from the other side of the galaxy.
You're right.
But the whole theory is fun. The theory about Anakin and Padme, that is quite a fun theory.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit last week, and like I said, I was playing devil's advocate for it. I wasn't ready to buy into it yet, but there is a lot of evidence where there's enough evidence where if Lucasfilm came out and was like, that's what happened, then it's not breaking canon at all. There's enough to back it up. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just kind of wanted a quick hot take from you on it real quick. Like I said, I'd buy that theory more than I do the Qui-Gon.
I'd buy that for $1.
I don't think Qui-Gon led the galaxy to slaughter. You know what I mean? I don't think that's what he was doing. So, all right. Well, Jay, I think we're going to sign off. Thank you for joining me from across the pond. I know it's late where you're at. I appreciate you coming on this week and talking some Star Wars with me. It's always a pleasure to get to speak with you on it. Guys, if you want to get a question on the Star Wars Canon podcast, you can email it to us at StarWarsCanonPodcast@gmail.com. I'll go through and pick one or two out each week, and we'll sit here and we'll just discuss them. And wherever the discussion takes us, that's where it takes us. So be sure to send your questions in there. If there's nothing else, let's sign off for the week, man. And until next week, have a good. You've just been listening to the Star Wars Canon Podcast. You can catch new episodes of the podcast every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on whatever platform you're listening on right now. If you like this episode, do us a huge favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons and give us a follow so you're notified whenever new content drops. If you'd like to get a mailbag question on the show, you can email us at StarWarsCanonPodcast@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and check out our website, www.starwarscanon.net. Those links can be found in the description of this episode. All opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and may not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of everyone else involved on the panel. This show is produced and edited by me, Brian Miller, with music composed by Brooke Monroe.